In order to create more advanced and responsive website layouts, we need to learn how to use div tags. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to code with HTML and CSS to create more advanced website layouts, and I'll also be showing you how to make your web page responsive, and finally I'll be showing you how to create CSS menus from scratch. So let's get started with the tutorial. Now before we can actually start writing the code, the first thing is going to be start writing on. So to do that, you can either go here and say new, or the easiest way is to go to your files panel, right click and say new file. Let's call this index.html. Fine. You can call this file absolutely anything you want. The second thing I'm going to do is to right click and select new folder. I'm going to title this folder CSS, because what we're going to be doing in this tutorial is actually be creating external style sheets, and the reason we do this is it comes in handy further down the line when we actually be creating websites that has an extensive number of pages. We can update a single style sheet and changes will take effect side wide, rather than having all of our CSS within our single documents and having to update them all individually. It's also more beneficial because it does make our code all very clean. So if I right click on my CSS folder and say new file, and I'm going to title this main body.css. Okay, and that's our first style sheet. So if I open up my index.html, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a title to this. So I'm going to call this layout tutorial. Okay, and then you can see the title is here, and then you can name this anything you want. Okay, now when you look at this, the design view, the cursor is in the middle of nowhere. So actually when it comes to writing some CSS and inserting div tags and elements, this is going to affect in terms of positionally. So the first thing I'm going to do is set a proper margin. So it's pretty simple actually. You can go to page properties and make the 0 margin for all, and once you click on OK, you can see those changes that Dreamweaver has already written the code for us, and it's created basically some very simple CSS, just setting the margin. From now on, we're just going to be handwriting all our codes. Just to give you a brief background, now you can see the cursor, it's to the left. So I'm just going to explain this. We have a basic doc type, and then we have a head tags, and then we have body tags here. I'll be inserting our div tags between body tags. So to begin, first thing I'm going to do is actually call in our external style sheets. So we just created. So just underneath my opening head tag, I'm going to link href and browse and select my main body.css and real style sheet, and set the type to text CSS. Okay, so let's save this, and actually if you look at this index.html now, the main body.css has already been tagged. This will come in handy later in the tutorial when we start developing our menus. So but just to begin, I'm just going to create just a simple website, create my HTML for the div tags. I'm going to create a new div, and I'm going to give this the ID of container, and then close it and close. I'm going to be inserting rest of my divs within this container div. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create several divs here. Okay, let's give this a header. I'm going to call this menu, and then I'm going to call this sidebar. I'm going to call this div main body, and then finally I'm going to call this footer div. Okay, let's save this and go to the design. This is basically what you will see. Because there is no CSS, there is no rules to tell the web page how to display the div tags, so we need to use CSS to mold and design our page. So all of this is HTML, and to actually write our CSS we have created this external style sheet. So assuming that I can remember the div tag names, I'm going to target this container. So just copy that and then go to your main body.css, and I'm going to use a hashtag and follow it with the div I'm going to target, and then open and close curly brackets, and then here I'm going to set the width to 800 pixels. This is generally what you'll be want to be working with when it comes to developing your pages. Now at the end of every single line of CSS we use a semicolon, and the semicolon basically tells your browser to that this line of code is finished and move on to the next line. So every time we finish a line of CSS we use a semicolon. Okay, for the height I'm going to be setting this to auto. Okay, that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing here. So if I come into the design view and see that this is the container div, so all the divs we created are within this master div. The one thing you're going to notice here is this div tag is actually going to the left. So to fix that, I'm just going to come back to my CSS and I'm going to add a margin. I'm going to be targeting the left and right margin to set this to auto. So right margin auto, don't forget the semicolons. And now if you come to the design view, the div is now centered. It'll be nice if you have a little margin to the top too. So margin from the top to about 11 pixels, and if I save it and come back, it's just lifted off the page, as you can see here. So let's go ahead and start developing our page, and we have the header div, menu div, and all the other divs we're going to be targeting. We're going to be targeting next is the header, so we'll do that exactly the same way. So is hashtag menu. We're not going to set a width to this because it's going to use the width of the container div, but we're going to set the height to about 150 pixels, because we don't need to center this because it's just going to be run off the container div. So but I want to set a background color. It's clearer for you who are following this tutorial. So let's give it a black here. I'm doing this on purpose because I have a plan in mind. Okay. Okay, now if you say this and come to your design view, you can put in anything here. Okay, at this point I just want to bring in my logo here, so I'll probably bring in my logo, which is logo.jpg, and say okay, and there we go. We have a logo right now. Fine, let's save this. We have the reminiscences of a web page layout, the header. This is just basically a header, and we have already put a logo here. Now the next div we're going to be targeting is the menu div. So let's go ahead and target the menu. So we'll say hashtag menu and opening and closing curly brackets. Again, we're going to do is set the height to about 150 pixels, and I'm going to give it a background color to something like a gray. I'm not really following any particular color schemes. I'm just showing this color so that you can see and it's easy for you to follow. So if I come back to design view, you can actually see that now we have a header section and the menu section clearly defined. So let's come back to our code and target the next div, which is going to be the sidebar, and this is where it gets interesting, the main body and sidebar. Okay, so come back to our main CSS. So we'll say hashtag sidebar and then open and close curly brackets. Okay, you need to spell this exactly the same. That's why I'm just copying it from the source code and pasting it in my CSS. Okay, here I'm just gonna I'm gonna give the width to about 150 pixels, and I'm going to target the main body div. So let's copy this main body from here so that we don't make any mistakes, and fine. So hashtag main body and open and close curly brackets, and we're gonna give it width to about 650 pixels, and let's save this. If I come into design layout, you can't see anything here because it's basically flat. So let's give it a height here, so to about 400 pixels, and we can do the same here for 400 pixels, and see what happens here. Okay, I'm gonna set a background color. So background color to something like a red here, a semicolon, and then I'm going to set this background color to background to say light purple and semicolon. Okay, this is exactly what I thought it'll happen. This is going to be a terrible color scheme, but it's going to be super easy for you to see. Now if actually scroll down, here we have a sidebar and here we have a main body. Now something's wrong here. So we need these div tags to be side by side, but right now that's clearly not happening. So how do we fix that? So let's come back to our CSS, and on the sidebar we just want this to be on the left side. I'm just going to float this div to the left, and semicolon, and the main body div tags I'm going to float to the right. Okay, now let's see what happens. Save it, and now you see that the div tags are now sitting perfectly side by side, and this is exactly what we wanted to achieve. So now let's just target the final div tag, which is our footer. So let's go and we'll go hashtag footer, open and close curly brackets, and set the height for this to say about 100 pixels, and you can always customize and change it as and when you wish. I'm going to set a few more lines of code here. I'm going to set a margin from the bottom to about 21 pixels, and I'm going to set a background color to a nice light gray. Okay, and now if I come back to our design view, what you're going to see is I can't see the footer div that I just created. The reason is because we are floating these two divs, sidebar to the left and the main body to the right. What happens when we float divs is basically the div tags literally float. So imagine that they are not actually sitting on the page, they are hovering around the page. The div tags underneath are certainly going to be pushed underneath it and just disappear. So how do we fix that? We have to add one more line of code to a footer div tag, and that is we're just going to clear the div tags for both left and right. Now let's see what happens here. Now we can see that the footer div, and there's a margin from the bottom. Okay, it'll actually be smarter if the footer div is actually inside the container div. So I'm just going to cut this and paste it right here. Okay, so now okay, fine, we have a margin all around the web page. Okay, we have a web page layout. Let's preview this. Wow, now we have a web page with a header and menu, the sidebar, main body, and the footer. Now the second part is how do you going to make this whole web page responsive? That means we're going to make this web page look different on different devices, maybe a mobile or a desktop machine. The screen size is going to be different depending upon the device you're using. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is we use basically different style sheets. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this web page layout responsive. So to do that, I'm going to create a new CSS file within my CSS folder, and I'm going to call this mobile.css. Okay, and what that basically means is we're going to come back to our layout.php and source page, and where we link to main body CSS, I'm going to actually call in this href and then browse to mobile.css and then real style sheet and type text CSS. Okay, sorry. So what this is doing is I'm going to be calling this style sheet. As you can see, it's already been tagged into this index.html. The web page, but what I want to do is I want to call this style sheet here based on a condition, and the condition is that the web page is being viewed in a device that is less than a certain dimension. I'm going to be using 800 pixels, so anything that falls below 800 pixels is going to be looking at this style sheet. Anything above 800 pixels, this style sheet will not be used. So we use media queries, so we'll write media equals screen and open brackets, close brackets, and we're going to say max hyphen width 800 pixels. Okay, we have not actually set div width for header, menu, and footer, but we have set a width for the left and right div tags because we are floating them. Now all we need to target is initially we need to the container div. So let's target the container div here, and I'm just going to change the width here. So we're going to target the container div and the sidebar and the main body. So let's copy this and go to mobile CSS, and I'm going to change the width here to, let's say, sorry, hashtag container, and open and close curly brackets, and make it change the width to 300 pixels. Okay, we need to target the sidebar. I'm just gonna copy and paste this to let's change this to, sorry, open and close curly brackets, and set the width to 100 pixels, and then I'm going to target the main body, and open close, and change the width here to 200 pixels. Okay, now let's just save this. Okay, so this 200 plus 100 will make it 300, which is in the container. Okay, now let's go back to our design view, and let's just launch this in a web browser. So okay, so I'm just gonna resize my browser. So let's resize the screen to, like, if you see the web page layout is changing. This is what it means to create the responsive website. The layout is changing depending upon the screen we are using or the device we use. Okay, so now you know how to create a website responsive. Now let's go to the final part of the tutorial, which is actually creating a CSS menu for our web page. So to do that, I'm going to create a new CSS file within my CSS files folder. I'm going to call this menu.css, and just like we did previously, I'm going to source code, and I'm going to call this style sheet href, and menu.css real style sheet. The type is text CSS. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's save this, and you can see now the menu.css tag to the thing. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting this into our menu div, so which you can see here. Okay, so let's between these two, I'm going to create some spaces, and then first we need to create our actual HTML. We need to create an unordered list. So we can actually go to your format and then say unordered list, and if you select unordered list, you will get the UL, the unordered list. Okay, between these we'll put our line items. Okay, I'm gonna put in my list items here, so li, and then close this, and within these brackets I'm gonna create my main menu. So I'm going to start creating. So I'm going to say href. I'm going to put a hash here, and here I'm gonna close this ref. Okay, and here I'm gonna put in the home and everything. Okay, at this point I'm just gonna explain this at this stage. So what does this mean? So here we have unordered lists, and then we have a list item, and here is actual menu option here. So this is the text that will be displayed, and this is the link that will be displayed. The reason why I put hashtag is that we do not have any more pages, so when someone clicks on this, it will not take them anywhere else. So nothing happens on clicking on the home link. Now just to save time, I'm just going to copy this several times, and I'm just going to change text here. I'm going to call this services, then I'm going to call this about, and then contact. Okay, if you see the design view here, it's all common. We actually need to style this and target and create our menus. So let's go ahead and create that. We just need to go to our menu.css file, and I'm just to save some time, I'm just going to come back to my main body and then menu here. I'm just going to cut this, and I'm going to put that into my menu CSS file. It's just going to work just the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be actually writing my CSS. So for the menu, I will write my CSS. First thing I need to target is we're going to be targeting the unordered list and the list items. So I'm still going to be writing my menu, and then I'll say UL unordered list, and then open and close curly brackets. So here I'm going to set the margin to 0 semicolon, and set the padding to 0 as well. So next thing I'm going to do is target the menu and target the li. So open and close curly brackets. So first here I'm going to set the list style type to none, and then float this to the left, and then I'm gonna display this as a block, and what we're gonna do is set a width about 150 pixels. We're gonna set a height and about 60 pixels. Okay, what have we done? Okay, now within the list items, we need to do text align to the center, and to keep them in the middle, I'm going to put the line height to about 55 pixels. Okay, this is just starting to take some shape here. If you look at the design, we are actually going to give this more design features, add some color to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add font family. I'm going to use Vedana, Geneva, and sans serif. So basically we use this, we have several font options. What happens is if a browser doesn't support a particular font, it will just move on to the next one on the list. That's why we basically use this font family. And then see, that's changed, and I want to do is I want to set font size to about 17 pixels. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, looks alright. Okay, fine. Now I want to change the font color, and I want to change, and I want to get rid of this underline. So what we need to do is basically again hashtag menu and LIA and open and close curly brackets, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to text decoration none, and then say color, and gonna set the color to white. Okay, now if you save and look at the design view, you're gonna see that this is just starting to take some shape. Now what I want to do is I want to have these different links change color, the background color, when you hover over them. So on rollover this will change color. So what we do is we come back to our CSS and we have to write menu list item, hover, and then open and close curly brackets, and here is we just going to change the background color to lighter gray. Okay. Okay, after saving you just look at it, and then the most important thing is about the li menu height, which is 60 here. This should be the same as the height you have defined on top, so don't make a mistake there. So let's save this and view this, and you will see that the menu changes on rollover. Fine. You can also go back, and if you have several pages you can go back and create a link here, and you can just pull in any file, and you can link it to anything from here. So you know how to use div tags and CSS to create a website, also make it responsive like this, like it changes the layout depending upon the size, and also you know how to create a custom CSS menu. Fine. If you want codes for the main body.css, you can go to this URL here, and then you can copy the codes from here. And then if you want the codes for the menu.css, you can go to this place and copy the codes from here. And if you want the code for mobile.css, you can go to this URL here and copy the codes from here. Fine. So you can also go to our main website, that is enthusiastweb.com, and this is our logo as you can see here, and you can search for layout tutorials in the search bar here. You will have a step-by-step tutorial on how to create simple layout using div tags and CSS, and to make it responsive, and also to create a custom CSS menu. Thanks for watching this tutorial.